Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way, fighting forever against overwhelming odds, fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms, idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind, head out to show, or Shadowfell, hey, hey. Together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss, hey, hey. Bad guys to slay, fighting forever against overwhelming odds, fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms, idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, get you all out there. Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions, idle champions, idle champions, idle champions.
I am hydrated and ready to go for this tutorial show. Welcome. It is Saturday. That means this is Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. Today's topic, 2023 Champions Parts 3 and 4, because we never got around to Part 3 last year. I am going to be covering all 9 champions you see on the screen at the moment. All of them in 1 hour-ish. I say ish because lately we've been going a little over the hour mark, but I have water, I have lip balm, I have applied them because I'm going to be talking real fast. Which makes the other person that's here today for the tutorial show super important. Everybody say hello to Gabe. Gabe is in the production booth. Gabe's going to be grabbing your questions from chat because I'm going to have zero time to look at them as I go over 9 champions. So I'm going to do a little housekeeping, a couple housekeeping, the normal, usual housekeeping. If you have a question, please put question : at the front of it as it shows down below. Also, very important for this episode, because I'm going to be flying through 9 champions. Please make sure your question has context of the champion it's about. Because when I get to the end, if it's a fairly generic question and you don't have a champion that it's aimed at, I'm just going to be like, and maybe move on. I don't know. So give me some context today, folks. Help me help you. Help me help you. Ugh. This is not the worst review show I've ever done. A few years back, Dylan said to me, "Hey, do you think maybe one of the first shows in January you could just review all of the champions that came out in the prior year?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that shouldn't be a problem." Past me gets current me into lots of trouble, folks. If you don't know this already, people that hang out on my channel know. 18 champions in one episode was a problem. That was too many. So that's why we try to break them up into parts. Usually a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. But today we're doing 9 champions. Oh, yeah, I feel like we need intro music. Y'all ready for this? All right, folks, we're gonna dive in. So, in the last half of last year, we got 8 event champions and a evergreen champion. We'll cover the evergreen champion first. The front of the formation, Commodore Krux, our big beefy GIF. Commodore Krux is is male GIF fighter, lawful good, DPS tanking and support. Is that overwhelm number? Oh, I've got overwhelm thrown at him. So his overwhelm's 25. I've just boosted his overwhelm so he can exist at the front. Health and overwhelm I've thrown in so far. I just wanted to make sure. Commodore Krux uses ranged weaponry, as you can say. He's got a pair of flintlock pistols, and he fires them. He just kind of takes turn alternating between them, firing forever. It's not really how flintlocks work, but hey, this is a fantasy game. Commodore Krux also has a passive ability. He shares this passive ability with Vin Ursa, who we're going to talk about next. Commodore Krux is a wild space lover. It's the only way I can ever say that phrase. Commodore Krux can be used in any Light of Xerxes campaign adventure or variant, even if he would not normally be available to be used due to variant or patron restrictions. So you're always going to have a big, beefy DPS tank support available throughout the Xerxes campaign, which is fantastic. So once you do unlock him, he is a evergreen unlock in the Xerxes campaign. So you've got to get to him first. But once you do unlock him, then you can use him in all the other stuff there. Primary ability, all hands on deck. Commodore Krux increases the damage of all champions in his column and the rearmost column of the formation. Real interesting. So you either are doing him or someone in his column as DPS. Or you're doing the column in the far back, which means don't ever put him in the far back, because that's kind of a waste. You could do it, I guess, but yeah, this is not because it does not apply twice if it's in the same column, which would have been cool, but he's beefy enough as it is. It's beefy enough as it is. Battle stations means Commodore Krux increases the damage bonus of all hands on deck by 25% for each second the champions are in the current area, stacking multiplicatively up to a maximum of 100 stacks. Now, multiplicatively is the good way. So 100 seconds. You need 1 minute and 40 seconds to fully ramp this up. And I believe that's in-game time. I'm not running any speed effects right now, but I do believe that's in-game time. 25% is a nice boost. I don't like doing math on stream, but you know what? Today we're going to do this on a calculator. 3, 6, 9. That's an E11. That's like a 5E11 almost buff. That's pretty solid. That's pretty solid. That's a boost to all hands on deck. So this is nice. This is great because the longer you're on a level, that usually means it's hard to clear. So after 1 minute 40 seconds, you're going to get a nice big boost to all hands on deck. Batten down the hatches, Commodore Krux increases the health of all other champions by 0.1% of his max health. Now, I know this starts off weird because normally it's like, oh, it's a health share ability. It's like 25%, right? Nope. 0.1% for each adventure variant and patron variant you've completed in the Light of Xerxes campaign. It does stack additively. And any healing effect on those champions is increased by the same amount. So, Krux will not only share health that ramps based off how much you've completed in that campaign, he boosts healing as well. This is a big deal. Now, obviously, it takes a while to get to the normal 25%, going 0.1% at a time. That means you're going to have to hit at least, 250? 250 total adventures variants and patron variants. But remember, there's a lot. There's 3 variants per adventure, and then there's 4 patrons. So there's one base adventure will yield up once Xerxes is done. Will yield up 3 variants, and then there's currently 4 more patrons. So that's 5 versions of that's 50. So 16 per a single adventure is basically 1.6%. So it builds up quick. It builds up quick. Now, again, Xerxes is not a completed campaign, so just going to have to wait, and we'll get there eventually. But lots of beefiness potential here with Batten Down the Hatches. Starfarer's Spyglass. Upon completing a new area, Commodore Krux raises a spyglass to his eye and spots an enemy from the next area. All enemies of that type become his favored foe until you move to another area. And favored foes take 100% more damage from all sources. So Commodore Krux does create favored foe, and it varies. It's just, hey, what's on the next level? And then he picks one, which is a neat favored foe mechanic. It's a neat favored foe mechanic. All right. Specialization paths. We have Nautical Knockback, Take the Helm, and Foe of Xerxes. For the knockback, Commodore Krux increases the effect of all hands on deck by an amount, and his base attack knocks back targets a short distance. So just a straight up buff to all hands on deck, and you get some crowd control via knockback. This can synergize with Solok usually likes ranged and knockbacks. So there's this can synergize with other champions depending on what you're doing. Yeah. Take the Helm. Commodore Krux increases the damage of champions with a magic base attack by an amount. These amounts vary. You'll see the amounts are very different. So you're really going to have to kind of look at this and figure out what's going on and what you're looking for in terms of a specialization path. So this is like straight up, hey, if your DPS is magic based, this is an option. Okay. And then Foe of Xerxes, each time any favored foe is defeated, Commodore Krux increases the damage of all champions on deck by an amount that stacks additively up to 25 times until the area is changed. I'm not gonna lie, I usually run this one. Just because. It is nice. It is additive instead of multiplicative, so it's not like broken OP. But if you're adding up, whatever your value is, it should. Hold on, let me. Yeah, that ends up being like a 3.41 EO4. So that ends up being bigger than these other two. But it's for all hands on deck specifically, and it takes ramping up, right? You have to be killing favored foes. So it's a very specific, again, type of specialization. So you're really going to pick what you feel is going to work best for your scenario. There isn't just this one is honestly probably the most generically useful if you just want to set and forget. Nautical Knockback. I do tend to go Foe of Xerxes, but that's me being weird. I do that a lot. I have my own personal preferences, and they're not necessarily what's ideal at all times, right? So finally we get to an experienced sailor. This is a little bit down the upgrade path, but it's a big deal. Commodore Krux increases the effect of all hands on deck. So again, that generic buff by 20%, excuse me, for each adventure variant and patron variant you've completed in Light of Xerxes campaign, stacking multiplicatively. That's a good way. This is strong, but you do have to complete adventures. It is a 20% bonus, so that's pretty solid. And there is going to be a cap to it, right? There's going to be a fixed amount. We have not seen the last of the. I know we haven't seen part 10 of the Xerxes adventures, so we don't know like total how many adventures there will be to be able to figure out the overall max of. I would say there's probably 2 more adventures coming, is a guess. Part 10, usually each part of a campaign is 2 adventures at a time, 2 adventures and a variant for each. So there's probably 2 more adventure nodes. You can base it off that. So there is going to be a fixed amount that this can get to. It doesn't stack forever. But it is a big deal. It does require you to do all the stuff though. Again, all the regular adventures, all the variants, and then all the patron versions. Currently, we have 4 patrons. At some point this year, they've said we're going to get a 5th patron. So as they add more patrons to the game, that will make a Krux beefier. Not only for the health share and the healing boost, but also for the damage boost. Okay. So Krux is one of those champions that as you complete this specific content, he's going to get stronger. And it's actually worth your time to do so. Actually worth your time. Ultimate attack. Force grenade. No, this is not a Jedi trick. Commodore Krux throws a grenade at the enemy with the most health, so whoever's the beefiest on the screen. It explodes, dealing ultimate damage to all enemies in a medium radius and knocks them all back a short distance. So again, ranged knockback, and it's AoE. I do want to point out, let me go over here and let me see, for those of you who are wondering what kind of... so batten down the hatches, I've completed 99 Xerxes variants, so I have an EO6 health share. That's not, it's not huge. That's 9.9%, so we're not even at 10% yet. Foves, experience sailor. Here we go. I've completed 99 Xerxes adventures. That's already an E12 boost. Now there's a post-stack multiplier coming in here from an item. Keep that in mind. So itemization will matter. But if we just look at the stacks, this is the 99 stacks. That's a 6.9 nice EO9% boost just straight off before the itemization. He is an evergreen, so he is going to just soak up lots and lots of item levels just passively. So this beefy. Again, we're nowhere near the amount, like the max. I don't think. Still a beefy boost. Itemization, again, health. Yay. Every tank needs a health item. If it doesn't have one, that's probably not a great tank. All hands on deck, battle stations, an experienced sailor, specializations, that's why my numbers are all over the place, and then alt cooldown. Feat-wise, is all champs damage, health. You get self-damage because he is a DPS, and he actually does really well as a DPS. It might surprise you to know that, but he can drop the damage. It's pretty good. All hands on deck, battle stations, specializations, overwhelm. There is a dex boost here. I don't know. Enjoy, I guess. It doesn't necessarily light up a patron. I feel like he already qualifies for most things, but it might hit you up for some abilities from champions. It might get you into certain variants. And there are some dex-based things now. High dex formations and boosts, and giving him an extra dex could potentially be nice. No, it's just not anything like super major. All right, now we're going to talk about Vin Ursa. Vin Ursa, Commodore Krux is a Spelljammer champion, to be clear. It's the Light of Xerxes campaign is a Spelljammer campaign. Vin Ursa, also Spelljammer themed champion. Vin Ursa is a female plasmoid, fighter rogue, lawful evil, and a support and goldfind champion. Their base attack is laser, where Vin Ursa uses her light accelerating spectral energy relay to attack a random enemy. She is also a wild space lover, so you can use her anywhere. So her and Commodore Krux can tag team throughout Xerxes if you want. You have a guaranteed DPS/tank/support in Krux, and you have a guaranteed support/gold find in Vin Ursa. Yay. And it probably won't surprise you to know that Vin Ursa has a favorite foe mechanic we're going to talk about shortly. All right, this first specialization, you're either a front decker or a rear decker. This just increases the damage of all champions either in the front 2 columns or the rear 2 columns. So choose based on whatever you're shooting for. Wherever your placement of your primary DPS is, there you go. If you've got a stretch formation like this that's got 5 columns, your DPS can't be in the middle, or Vin Ursa won't be buffing. Right? They can't even get a buff there. Bounty Hunter. Vin Ursa picks a random monster type from a monster in the current adventure as her favored foe. So the moment you load in, she goes, Well, what are we gonna face? And I'm gonna hate that today. It's like a menu option, right? Her favorite foes drop more gold, and all champions deal more damage to them. Yay, right? But it is random for the adventure. But then we come to her ultimate, and I'm going to address that right now because it's specific to this. Vin Ursa blasts an enemy. She has a 20% chance to score a crit hit, and the enemy becomes a favored foe if she crits. You want to park a familiar on target acquisition when you're using Vin Ursa, because she can build up basically and have every enemy type in an adventure be a favored foe, and thus you're doing more damage to everything, and everything's dropping more gold. It's pretty fantastic. We're gonna park a familiar here. Oh, I forgot to use this, or I forgot to use his. Hold on. You just saw him use his spyglass though. There, boom. She just blasts real hard. That's it. It's nothing. It's nothing special. Here's the force grenade. Get it out of the pack. Throw it. Boom. Big knockback. Good job. Good job, Krux. All right. So, Vicious Vantage is up next. Vin Ursa increases the effect of your deck specialization by an amount for each favored foe she has, stacking multiplicatively. Buffs apply to the pre-stack multiplier. That's right. Vin Ursa, it has an OP ability with item support. Now, here's the thing. It is based on favored foes. So she's only super strong in an adventure that has a lot of different favored foe types. And then you have to tag them all as favored foes. Now, but this does mean that you can go into some adventures and pair it up with certain champions that create favored foes on levels, maybe even creating favored foes, types of enemies that don't exist in that adventure. You can add more stacks. The possibility is out there. So yeah, pretty neat ability. Obviously, this base value is the buffs applied to the pre-stack multiplier. So you get a bunch of them, and you're going to be multiplying it by this version, right? What do we got right now? She will tell you. Usually, here we go. So my favorite foe currently is plant, but undiscovered foes: aberration, beast, construct, elemental, fae, fiend, humanoid. Lots of potential stacks here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stacks, just as it stands, that she could potentially get. It's pretty solid. It's pretty solid. So keep in mind, keep that in mind, because that can be a pretty big reason to use Vin Ursa if you. But again, it's very specific if you are in an adventure that has a lot of potential favored foes. Contract negotiations. Whenever you use a bounty contract with Vin Ursa in the formation. Oh, this ability. Vin Ursa increases the effect of your deck specialization by 25% until the end of the current adventure, stacking multiplicatively, caps at 100 stacks. I know multiplicatively is a good way, folks. Doesn't mean I like this ability. Here's the thing. Bounty contracts are for events. They just are. I don't care that CNE is like, well, then maybe you can use another play. No. Please. You can do whatever you want, honestly, but bounty contracts are for events. So unless you're rocking Vin Ursa while an event is active, popping 100 bounty contracts, maybe not the best use of your bounty contracts. This is a solid buff. We've talked about 100 and versus 25%. We've done this on the math on the stream. It is a big buff. But man, bounty contracts. Don't use them like that, please. You can either have with next specialization set, she gets 2. You can have friends in low places, friends in meh places, and friends in high places. And this is low places is buffing evil champions, if that's who your DPS is. You can buff neutral champions for meh and good for high. Now they give you this champions formation targeted 3 number down here, or whatever the number is. That doesn't mean anything. doesn't mean anything. That's a trap. I've really tried to encourage them to change this to just listing the champions at targets, because that's what you need to know. Don't pick this one based off the number. That doesn't mean anything. You need to know who your DPS is, and you need to know, are they evil, are they neutral, are they good? And that's how you pick it. Right now I'm kind of building this around Krux DPS. Krux is lawful good, so we would go friends in high places. But please do not look at this and just assume the biggest number is the one you choose. Kills me. There are multiple champions in the game like this that buff based off a very specific thing, and they just threw numbers down there, and it's like, come on. All right, that's everything for Vin Ursa. Item-wise, damage all champions. We get increases the damage and extra gold from Bounty Hunter. This is a Vicious Vantage. We get buffing front and mirror deck, and then we can buff the other specializations. So she can buff both specializations. And then ultimate cooldown, which is a big deal for target acquisition. Oh, right, crit chance. So I've slotted crit chance feats because remember, target acquisition needs to crit to get her to assign a new a favored foe. So that's kind of important until you get them all, and then you could always swap it with something else. We get damage all champions, we get gold find, you get bounty hunter, you get vicious vantage, contract negotiations. Yeah, so you get a wide variety of them, but as I've only ever assigned 2, and it's the crit chance ones. Because I'm like, give me more crit chance, because that's really what I want, is just more crit chance, just so that she can acquire her targets faster. All right. Who's up next? Well, let's just go through the formation. Lae'zel. This isn't necessarily in release order, but I actually think anyway. All right. Lae'zel comes to us from the Baldur's Gate 3. The Absolute Adversaries affiliation is not a complete affiliation yet, so we're still missing some Baldur's Gate 3 origin champions. She's a female Githyanki fighter, and boy, will she make sure you know she's Githyanki. Lawful evil, DPS, support, and speed. She has a unique speed mechanic it is for very specific scenarios. Very specific scenarios, which is neat. I like that they're getting, some alternate speed mechanics. Base attack is with her greatsword. Lae'zel attacks the closest enemies with a swing of her greatsword. That does say enemies, so it is an AoE, which is good to know. Her passive increases her base crit chance. That's all it does. Takes it up to 20%. Lethal Coordination is a first ability and increases the damage of all champions in her column by an amount, and does include herself. That means in this situation she's not buffing Krux, but this isn't an ideal situation. So make sure she's in the same column as your DPS, or make sure there's some things that can change that. Let's just say that. I'm not going to go into all the things that can change that. Ceramorphosis. Sarah is a good friend of mine. I will say she likes to get in your head, and that's, sometimes that's a downside, but we're going to talk about Sarah a lot when it comes to Absolute Adversaries. Folks, I'm treating Ceramorphosis as a person because that's how my closed captioning does it. And now it's a thing. Ceramorphosis is a big deal for Absolute Adversaries. Your formation gains 1 Ceramorphosis stack due to the Mind Flare, Tadpole, and Lae'zel's Brain. Lae'zel increases the effect of lethal coordination by an amount for each stack, stacking multiplicatively. This is the good way. Absolute Adversaries are all, so far, multiplicatively stacking. And it's all based off Ceramorphosis, and all but one of these champions has pre-stack item support. So a full Absolute Adversary formation is going to be beefy. Because if you ramp up item levels, like you can see, I've got over 1,000. I've got a little over 1,000 item levels on this one already. Yeah, beefy. There's also ways. There are also some. There are also 3 other champions currently in the game that have a tadpole feat, which will add to that stack if you slot that feat. So beefy. Straight to the point. This is the speed ability. In non-boss areas, whenever an enemy is defeated by anything other than Lae'zel, she has a % chance to gain an impatience stack. If you get over 100%, she gains more stacks, which is what, at 252, I gain more than 1 stack, right? When she has 17 impatience stacks, complete the current area and reset the stacks to the current Ceramorphosis count. So here's another way Ceramorphosis can help you. Stacks persist when changing areas. So basically, the more impatient she gets, the faster you go. Which is great. What a great concept. She's like, why am I not killing anything? I'm over this. This is a boring party anyway. And then she leaves. This is a fantastic in scenarios where you have to, where the quest goal is kill 25 torches. Like put out 25 torches or open 25 sarcophagi. And you're supposed to like push slowly through and take out these multi-hit things. She's just like, this is boring. And she just skips you past them. Skips you right past. So a really unique and specific speed effect. And once you get a full absolute adversaries formation, it's going to actually work a lot in general scenarios because when she resets her stacks, it's going to reset to match the Ceramorphosis count, which is less that she has to get to. And if you've got this at a high number, great, right? Great. All right, Aberration Hunter. Aberrations are Lae'zel's favored foe. So she is a favored foe person. Every time an aberration spawns, Lae'zel's lethal coordination is multiplicatively increased by 100%, stacking up to 4 times the Ceramorphosis stack count and resetting when changing areas. There's a 33% chance with each wave in a non-boss area that an extra Mind Flayer spawns. This means she spawns her own favored foe. So it's a way, no matter where you're using her, except in a boss area, which I gotta say is the painful part, you can build up her power. Now, it is 4 times the Ceramorphosis stack count, so again, the more stacks you have, the better. Again, absolute adversaries, all about stacking Sarah. All right. The downside to this is it doesn't work on a boss area. I mean, it does, but she can't generate her own in a boss area. So what you would do is, if you're having trouble beating a boss, you would back up an area, you would stack her up to max, spike your bud. That's spiking your bud, getting the most damage you can, moving into the boss area and trying to defeat it with bud-based damage, either via ultimates or abilities from champions that do bud-based damage. It's just because it's this Aberration Hunter, unless you're fighting aberrations on that level, it's not going to function. And even then, there's only going to be a max of usually 11 on a boss area, right? Unless there's an infinite spawn wave. So just know that this has a downside, and it's when you run into boss levels. Ferocious Warrior. If Lae'zel attacks and any of her targets survive, her base attack cooldown for her next attack is reduced by 4 seconds. She's got a long attack cooldown, but remember, it's an AoE, so if she hits it and they're like, nah, I'm still alive, suddenly she's basically cut in half. Her speed of... Well, she's not cut in half. That would be rude. Her base attack is cut in half, so that's nice. Attacking faster, on her own, all on her own. Specializations... Champion, Battlemaster, Eldritch Knight. These are the options because these are the options for fighter in Baldur's Gate 3, like the original options. You get 3 paths, so you can choose how you want to basically move her into like her subclass of fighter for the game. Champion increases her crit hit chance by 20% additively, and her crit damage by 100% multiplicatively. So if you just want to crit a lot, if you're put in scenarios where crit, like you have other people that function off crits or buff based off crits, you might want to crit more. I wouldn't necessarily say that's where you go generically, but it is a place you can go. Battlemaster, when Lae'zel hits an enemy and they survive, the enemy is distracted, and the next champion, other than Lae'zel, that hits them deals an additional 4 seconds of Bud-based damage. I love Battlemaster as a support, but when I'm running Lae'zel support, but I also like it if even if I'm DPS Lae'zel and I'm dealing with armored or hits-based enemies, because that additional 4 seconds of Bud-based damage means the next person that hits, if it's armored, could potentially be pulling off an armored chuck. Hit base, they're going to do it anyway. So armor, it's more of an armor chewer. I like that. But really, it's like a support thing. I love the support thing. When I'm running with support, just have other people do some butt-based damage. Eldritch Knight is better if you're the primary DPS. If Lae'zel is your DPS, and you want to chew through hit-based or armored things, because she now casts Magic Missile immediately after attacking with her sword. And you get 3 more hits. And if the only thing that's left is something hit-based like this strange orb, that means you're chunking it solid, right? You're chunking it solidly. We're going to go with this one just for the visual effect. Because why not? But really, you're going to want to, you choose, as always, well, not as always, but with Lae'zel, you're going to choose based off the situation you're in, right? Her ultimate is Psionic Leap. We will demonstrate this as she leaps psionically into the enemies and attacks with Psionic Shockwave, stunning them all for a short duration. And here's what it looks like. Come on, jump. There we go. Boom, like that. Big boost, right? There wasn't really anything on the screen, so it kind of defaulted, but you're going to get a big shockwave that comes out. You're going to get a stun. And that's nice. Again, crowd control off of a DPS is interesting. All right. Item-wise, damage all champions. We get Lethal Coordination, the previously mentioned Morphosis, Aberration Hunter, ultimate attack damage and ultimate cooldown. Feat-wise, you're going to get the same kind of stuff, all champs damage and her damage, self-damage, because she's DPS support. And then we get Lethal Coordination, we get Morphosis. These are required feats, folks, if you're running Absolute Adversaries Formation, because again, these feats apply pre-stack as well. Straight to the point, we get some crit if you just want to build beefy crit. Here's 70% more crit for her, which would take her to 90. If you just do Cataclysmic Strike and you do her specialization, that's 100% crit. She will crit on every attack. So there's a lot of crit potential here. It's just odd because she doesn't have any abilities that are based off crit. So yeah. All right, next up, let's go with Astarion. He's so lucky. He's Astarion. That's how I remember how to pronounce. I go the Britney Spears route to remember how to pronounce Astarion. It's Astarion, not Astarion. All right, male high elf, rogue, neutral evil, support gold. Again, one of the absolute adversaries. One of the absolute. One of those is. Wait, hold on. Did I read that wrong, folks? I'm flying through this. So did I read it wrong? I read it wrong. It's crit damage. Never mind. Ignore me. You get 10% plus 20 and 20 from the feat. You can get 50% crit chance. You can boost her crit damage. I apologize. This is what happens when I'm reading real quick. All right. Astarion. Astarion is your support and your gold find, and they're pretty neat. They're pretty solid. Sneak attack is, I know they're holding a dagger, but their sneak attack is not stabbing someone. They're throwing. It's a ranged attack. Deals massive damage if the enemy was recently attacked. So it's, yeah. All right. Passive ability, Vampire Spawn. Astarion counts as dead for the purpose of effects that care about dead champions, but alive for all other purposes. So there are situations where other champions do wild stuff based on the number of dead champions in the formation, Astarion's like, yeah, throw me in that group. Okay. Because that's just more boosting. Desmond is a good example. There are multiple examples nowadays, but Desmond is a great example. He buffs based off the number of dead champions and the NPCs in your party. Straight into specializations, because Astarion rolls that way. You can either outflank top or outflank bottom. Yes, they went there because it's Astarion. This increases the damage of all champions either on the top of each column or the bottom. So this is based, you pick the one that's based off where you're putting your DPS. This means your DPS needs to be either at the top or the bottom, so that Astarion can outflank them. Now, when it's a situation like Krux here, that's both. It should be both. We'll find out. We'll find out. And then, yeah, we'll come back to this. We need to go through the rest of this before we do the second specialization. Ceramorphosis returns. Again, same kind of thing. Starting increases the effective outflank by % for each Ceramorphosis stack, stacking multiplicatively. This is just how they roll. They're all gonna do a buff based stacking multiplicatively based off tadpole stacks, except for Karlach. We're not covering her today, but she boosts health share. She makes your formation super survivable based off Ceramorphosis stacks. Generational wealth. Astarion increases the gold find of the formation by a small amount, multiplied by the total age of all champions in the formation. Now, I'm going to just... Now, you're already getting a good boost off Astarion. He's 263. I'm just going to tell you, this doesn't mean you want to build a super old formation for gold find. I'm not saying don't, but it's a nice boost based off what's going on. The only place where you really build a gold find formation nowadays, Turn of Fortune's Wheel. But even there, you're going to want everyone in that formation to be a gold find generator. So whatever can boost overall gold find the most. And if that means adding some old people, maybe, sure. Okay. But yeah, that's how it works. Well fed. After using his Sanguine Hunger ultimate, which we'll talk about here in a second, Astarion's outflank is increased by an amount. This effect can stack multiplicatively up to 5 times, with stacks resetting when changing areas. So the longer you're on an area and the more you're using that ultimate, it will stack up to 5 times, and that's a large value to be multiplicatively stacking, folks. So this can generate again, one of those situations where you're stuck on a level and you're just like, okay, well, we're going to wait out until see if we can get 5 stacks of well fed. If that doesn't defeat it, okay, we're really in trouble. But it might, right? Let's talk about the Sanguine Hunger. Astarion viciously attacks the enemy with the most health with a vampiric bite and heals to full health. Now, I have this cooldown maxed. So as you can see, it's real quick to get to 5 stacks. But this is with a maxed cooldown reduction item. So you can get this down to 15 seconds. Here's what it looks like. It jumps out and bites. That's it. It's nothing super special, but that's it. But it does heal him to full health, which is interesting. You can heal Astarion to full health every 15 seconds. Which means there are some weird edge case scenarios where you might be able to put Astarion in the front line as a tank. If you don't have any, like if you only have like one other tank and maybe that tank has a taunt, and then Astarion might stay alive. Might. I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying they can stay alive for 15 seconds, full heal. If you're maxed out. Alright. Just be aware that these possibilities exist. I'm not saying this is how you use these characters. The ultimate outflank. If Astarion is buffed by his own outflank ability, which means this is the game telling you should make sure that if you pick top or bottom, that's also where Astarion is in your formation. When he uses his ultimate, he reduces the active ultimate cooldown of all other champions in the formation by 10%. Ultimate cooldown reduction is fantastic. Now, it is 10%. That means, I mean, it is a flat 10%. Some people will argue, well, it means the same for everyone. But if we think about flat values, on an ultimate, on his own ultimate, that'd be what, 1.5 seconds? But on someone like, I don't know, Karlach, who has the longest ultimate in the cooldown in the game, 10% is a good chunk of time. It's over a minute at the base values. I think it's over 100 seconds at the base values potentially. So, do this if you've got Karlach in your formation. You need the cooldown. Trust me. All right. Specializations: Thief, Arcane, Trickster, or Assassin. With Thief, Astarion increases the gold find of the party by 100% for each gold find champion in the formation, and it stacks multiplicatively. If you are running gold find for Turn of Fortune's Wheel, where you need to be running a gold find party, not a pushing party, build it out so that it pushes, but you need to generate your own gold find there because it does not drop gold. That campaign doesn't drop gold. It is designed that way. You would run Thief there, and everybody in your party would be a gold find champion. So you would get 10 stacks. Arcane Trickster: Astarion increases the damage bonus of his outflank specialization by 100% for each champion in the formation that is a rogue, wizard, or absolute adversary's affiliation, and it stacks multiplicatively. This is for, obviously, if you're running an absolute adversary's formation, boom, you know what you're doing. If you've got some rogues or wizards in there, you check this number. It stacks multiplicatively, so sure, right? That's a big damage boost. Because Assassin is just going to be, it increases the bonus bud-based damage Astarion's sneak attack deals to 5 seconds worth. This means that, like, his extra damage that he's doing when he if someone's been attacked recently is bud-based damage, and I think it's like a second of bud-based damage. So it's just a way to help make him an additional DPS. It might even be enough for him to take an armor chunk off of somebody. But 5 seconds, an extra 5 seconds worth? That could do it. This could make him somebody that chunks armor if you've already got the damage, because this is a huge damage boost. We're going with this one. So the mid spec for huge damage boost, left spec for huge gold boost, right spec if you already have enough damage and what you need to do is just kill armored enemies faster. That's a judgment call. Right spec is a judgment call in my opinion. Okay, that's everything for Astarion. Item-wise, damage of all champions. Ceramorphosis, again, this is the item to boost with ungodly item levels. Generational wealth, well-fed, outflank, and then ultimate attack cooldown. Feat-wise, damage all champions, gold find, because he is a gold champion. Ceramorphosis, again, that's what you want slotted if they've got a feat for it. Generational wealth, if you're going for the gold find, generational wealth, obviously. Well-fed, ultimate outflank, increases the effect of it by 20%. So if you're really trying to, there's a 20 and a 40 here. If you're really trying to reduce the ultimate cooldowns on someone like, Karlach, slot both of these. It's worth it, because if you're running like Karlach DPS, good lord, is it worth it. Here's outflank boosts. There's the big Ceramorphosis. Why have I not bought this yet? There we go. That one needs to just, this needs to just be constantly in my, we did it. We did a variety. We'll get rid of that one. All right. Yeah, Ceramorphosis, big deal. Big deal. Let's pop off of Absolute Adversaries and into Acquisitions Incorporated, folks, with none other than Certainty Drawn joining the formation now. Certainty Drawn, Omen Drawn's daughter. Also, the daughter of Tymora. That's right. Omen Drawn hooked up with an avatar of Tymora, and that avatar gave birth to Certainty Drawn. Female half-elf Aasimar, obviously. Wizard Bard, neutral good, support gold. Acquisitions Incorporated. Is it a full affiliation? Who knows? They dropped Certainty in here out of nowhere, so who knows who we might see in the future. Base attack is her Uncle Jim's magic missile. Certainty attacks random enemies with a version of Jim's patented magic missile spell. First ability is Secretarian's Advice. Certainty increases the damage of champions in the column in front of her by an amount. So she needs to be behind your DPS. And the column behind your DPS to be buffing. Financing round. Certainty increases the effect of Secretarian's Advice and your gold find by 1% for each level you've put on an Acquisitions Inc. or C-Team champion that is in the formation. This does stack additively. Each champion's contribution caps at 1,000 levels after their last available upgrade. So this means this gives you a reason to not only level up a champion to max, which you want to do anyway, but then to unhook the max and level over max with this button. So if this was an AC Inc. champion, I would want to give it another 100 levels 10 more times. Because I'm going to be able to reap that bonus as bonus damage and gold find off certainty. Normally you want to keep it on upgrade, but with certainty, once you get to soft cap, this is your circle with a line through it, means no more actual upgrades. Unhook it, go over. Alright? Go over. Dad and Uncle Jim. Certainty helps her father Omen by increasing the damage of champions of Tymora adjacent to her. So again, this means not only do you want her behind the DPS column, you want her behind and adjacent to the DPS. And she helps if Omen's in the formation. And she helps her uncle Jim Dark Magic by increasing his damage by 200% due to royalty payments for using his spell. So if Jim is your DPS, she's going to give him a little bit of a boost. Spec choices, Best and the Brightest versus Smooth Negotiators. And this is going to be based off the stats. So Certainty's preferred, with Best and Brightest, Certainty's preferred ability is Intelligence. Well, it should be like preferred stat is Intelligence, and she grants a +1 int bonus to all champions in the column in front of her. So this is a way to boost people's stats. Okay, it's just a column in front of her. Smooth Negotiators, Certainty's preferred stat is Charisma, and she grants +1 Charisma bonus to all champions in the column in front of her. There are various use case scenarios for this. I'm just gonna, there are some champions who buff based off certain stats. And this can help people qualify. But one of the interesting things with this is, let's take the int version. If you need 13 int to get into Strahd, so you would get certainty into Strahd because she's got 16 int, right? Then you would take someone with 12 int who has a +1 feat, put the feat in, put them in the formation in front of certainty. Then you can take the feat out and put in a regular damage or support feat, because she's going to give them the +1 to keep them in the formation. You still need a stat feat to get them into the formation, but once you're there, you can take the stat feat off. It's really interesting. The Charisma one also can do that for like Zariel. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, that's one interesting way to do it. But also there are people who just need champions to be at certain stat numbers, and this can do that. So these are the things to keep in mind. I know it's not necessarily you're always going to do that, but when you need to, you can. And I like those kind of options. Employee evaluations. Certainty assesses the average score of her preferred ability. So whatever you chose, int or charisma, of the champions in the column in front of her, and increases the damage effect of Secretarian's Advice by 200% for each full point over 13, and this stacks multiplicatively. So remember, this means that the people in front of her you actually want to have with high stats in whatever int or charisma. You're going to want to look at how you built your formation out, and because she's going to get multiplicatively stacking boosts if they're over 13. Yeah. Reboot expert. Certainly increases the effect of Secretarian's Advice by 1% each time she's been in an adventure for at least 250 areas when it is reset. This stacks additively and persists through resets. This is a permanently stacking ability. It stacks additively, so it's not outrageously strong, but it does mean that the more often you have certainty drawn in like formations that are going over 250 areas, the more she's going to be able to boost. What's mine at right now? I don't think I've used it that much, I'll be honest. I've got 131 stacks. 131 stacks, and that's an EO5 boost. So, not the worst. There are some upgrades and things that are going to make this, they're going to help this out a little bit, but so it will slowly add up over time, but because it's additively, there's some serious diminishing returns. Just understand that. You can boost it all you want, but just know she is not a speed champion, so she isn't somebody you would normally have in formations that are just grinding past 250. But you could do it. Her ultimate attack brings in the Ak-Ink airship. A barrage of fire from Certainty's enlarged toy airship flings up to 10 enemies off the screen. Here we go. There it goes. Boom. It's so funny. So it's just a little magical airship, but I love that they brought the Ak-Ink airship in. All right, item-wise, damage all champions item, Secretarian's advice, reboot expert, financing rounds, employee evaluations, and ultimate cooldown. Feat-wise, damage all champions, gold fine because she's supporting gold. Here's an interesting feat. New Me increases the stat bonus provided by Best and Brightest and Smooth Negotiators, so that stat boosting thing to +2 instead of +1. This is very specific for her, but instead of giving everyone in front of her +1, she gives them a +2. Nice. It helps her own buff out, and that's a big deal. You want those stacks, so that's why I have it in. Secretarian's advice, reboot expert, financing rounds. So, set up whatever you want, but that stat feed is a big deal. So it's to throw that in if you have it. Once you can pick it up, it's a good one to have. All right, let's talk about Thellora. Thellora, which is appropriate. I'm gonna take a water as my voice is getting a little hoarse. I told you this was going to take more than an hour. We're 5 champions through. We got 4 to go, and we're already in an hour. All right, I better gallop through the rest of these. Thellora joins us from Idle Champions Presents. She was a character created specifically for the game and for that TTRPG live show. She doesn't have an affiliation. Female Centaur Paladin, lawful neutral, tanking support and speed. She does have an overwhelm of 25, so a decent amount of overwhelm for tanking. Her base attack is Windsong Strike. She strikes an enemy with her hooves and another with her blade, so she can hit 2 enemies. Okay. She has a very long text passive, and it is her speed effect. Here we go. Thellora gains a rush stack for every 5 areas she completes. No. Thellora gains a rush stack for every 10 areas she completes an adventure. There's a feat for that. Spoiler. And these stacks persist through resets. Thellora's rush target is equal to her number of rush stacks or the current campaign's favor exponent, whichever is smaller. Right now, we have gone to 255 areas, which means I would have, normally with 10 per, I would have 25 rush stacks. This campaign's favor exponent, there's a reason we use scientific notation in this house. It's the number after the E. That's the favor, that's the exponent. So 76 is the highest rush target I could get. Currently, if I were using the base values, that would be 25, and it uses whichever is lower. So if she had 25 stacks and I restarted this adventure, something happens that then the target is 25, right? If I have over 76 stacks for me personally, because that's where my favorite exponent is, then 76 would be my target, okay? When Thellora kills her first enemy in adventure, she has to kill it, or she has to start her animation when click damage kills it. One of those two things. But have her kill it. She spends all her rush stacks, all of them, and I'm going to say rushes to the first area past her rush target. Now, whether she rushes, there's some weird stuff going on with Thellora and Briv combined. So whether she rushes to her rush target, which is I feel like would just be clearer, or to the area past her rush target, depends on whether Briv is doing some stuff or not. I don't know, it's annoying. So just know there's a plus or minus. There's a +1 potential here. Thellora gathers all the rewards, including gold, from bosses skipped in this fashion, but nothing from normal monsters. So Thellora will rush you past. For me, I use this all the time. I use Thellora in my speed formations for gem farming, because she's going to take me 76 areas, at least 76 or 77, depending on how her interaction with Briv goes. That means I'm collecting boss bags and boss gold, which is nice. But just the boss bags and the boss gold, that's all the gems and anything in the bags from all the bosses that I passed through 76, right? That's fantastic. It's 25 boss bags like that, because she just gone. Okay, she is great for that. But then her speed effect ends. That's it. It's done. She doesn't provide you any more speed for the rest of the adventure. But it is fantastic for gem farming, and just for skipping, and then a bunch of stuff on a deep run. Why not? But then you want to keep her in long enough to build her rush stacks back up. That's where this feat comes in. This feat is fantastic. Reduces number of areas required per rush stack for Thellora's Plateau's Unicorn Run by 50%. So that's the 5 per, and it's great. It's great. You pick that up. If you're going to be using Thellora, you need that speed. You need that feat, so that she can get her rush targets back quicker. Then throw her in your gem farming formation. She's worth the headache. There's some stuff you have to do for Briv gem farming. We're not going to get into it, but it's got to be real specific. And then again, like, there's some variation. But yeah, really great for gem farming, and just if you want a nice, interesting speed effect at the start of a run. All right, now into her actual ability, Strength of the Luma. Thellora increases the damage of champions in the column behind her by an amount. So she's a tank, support, speed. So if she's in the front line, then she's going to buff right behind her. Otherwise, she doesn't have to be in the tank line. Depends on how many tanks you got rocking. Paladin's Resolve. Each time Thellora attacks and doesn't kill an enemy, which should be a lot because she's not a DPS, she increases the effective strength of Luma by 15% until the area changes. This stacks multiplicatively and caps at 100 stacks. Okay. So 15% is a lower multiplicative value, but great. Still take it. She does have a long base attack cooldown. So this does mean it would take a while, if you're not using any kind of attack speed boosters, for her to actually ramp up to 100 stacks. But just know there is a ramping value. It is multiplicative the longer you're on an area. So until she is at 100 stacks, there's potential damage to earn in that area. Ultimate attack is the Light of Mount Tura. Thellora charges through the enemies, dealing one massive hit to them all in a wide path. Then she increases the damage of all champions by 400% for 15 seconds. So this is a screen-wide single hit, and then a buff, 15-second buff. That's chunky, 400%. That's a 5x buff. Okay. Spec choices: Defender of the Meek, Vanguard of the Quick, or Kalessa's Blessed. So Defender of the Meek, Thellora increases the damage of champions with a strength of 12 or less by 1% for each such champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. And any buffs to these abilities apply to the pre-stack values. So she does have a pre-stack multiplier, limited based on the number of champions in the formation. This is one of those scenarios where you are going to want to look at the number. You are going to want to try to choose a high value. But remember, she is targeting these specific champions based off the number of them. So your DPS will still have to match. Okay. So, for Vanguard of the Quick, this is based off speed champions. And for Kalessa's Blessed, this is based off female and non-binary champions. Okay, and the values are different. 596 for me. I've got there's stuff buffing this. 497, 497. So this is the biggest one you can get, Defender of the Meek. But it only matters if your DPS is a strength of 12 or less. Okay. I'm just gonna. Well, yeah. I can't buff. Doesn't it? Where this is a Krux formation, so none of this matters. But yeah, you would want to build her in an appropriate formation. In an appropriate formation. All right. So just know you have to pay attention to both the number and who your DPS is for that one. Making it tricky. Radiance of the Sky Sense. Thellora increases the health of all other champions by 25% of her max health, and the healing effect on those champions is increased by 25%. So she is one of the rare tanks who not only shares her health, but also boosts healing effects. This is important to keep in mind. Healing is not great in this game, but these are ways you can make it a lot better. I wish it applied to shields too, but I don't think it does. Feats to spare, because she got 4 of them, right? The effective feats assigned to Thellora, this is unique, also applies to all adjacent champions. This is a unique ability in this game, and and I don't even know that we've found just all of the various shenaniganry that could happen with this. There's a lot of potential here. Note that feats that buff her formation abilities have no effect when applied to other champions. So generic feats like all champions damage boosts or boosting health, like boosting her own health. When you put one of these on Thellora, they apply to all adjacent champions. There's shenanigans here, right? Straight up health. What if you've got 45% health boost and she's next and you put her in the middle of a 3-tank front line? She's also boosting the other tanks' health by 45%. And then they're all sharing that health. So the party then becomes beefy, and anybody else adjacent to her behind her also going to get 45% more health, though that doesn't really matter on squishies. But yeah, you could build a super beefy survivable formation. And guess what? That would also work for, where are they? Overwhelm feats on those tanks. She would share those with the other tanks as well. She's got a base attack cooldown that could share with everybody around her. Who knows? Who knows how wild Thellora formations can get? I don't know that anybody's really figured out all the possible permutations currently. Where are we at? There we go. Oh, that was the last one. Okay, so super unique ability. Really neat. Really neat. Item-wise, damage all champions, health, again, for a tank. Strength of the Luma, Paladin's Resolve. This is all the specialization choices. That's why my numbers were weird. And then ultimate cooldown. And then as we were just looking at the feats, damage all champions boosts, health boosts. This is that speed feat. Strength of the Luma, Paladin's Resolve. You get some overwhelm feats. You get an attack cooldown feat. You get a feat for her specializations. She also has a con feat. This would qualify her for Vajra. And again, if you slot a stat feat with her, she shares that to everybody around her as well. Wild. Gotta love it. All right. Next up, let's come back from Thellora to Jang Sao, because Jang Sao also was introduced in the same Idle Champions Presents. Jang Sao, female satyr, druid wizard, neutral in alignment. That's a true neutral alignment, so neutral. Healing support, age 888 is what it's listed as in the game. To be clear, though, if you just saw the recent Idle Insights, that's just an arbitrary number. She's most likely much, much older than that, but this is where it's pegged for the game. Base attack is star. It is a ranged attack. She throws a star at the nearest enemy. This isn't a throwing star. It's a literal star. Her name means stars and moons. All right. Let's go into this. The Mysterious Wanderer. Jang Sao increases the damage of all champions formation slots. In formation slots with 2 or fewer adjacent slots. Let me explain. This is not like within 2 slots adjacent to her. This is in a formation slot with 2 or fewer adjacencies. What does that mean? That means Krux and Wyll are getting buffed by Jang Sao, and no one else is. because everybody else has either 3 or more adjacent slots to them. It is formation layout dependent. Okay. She does have a feat that will change it. Where is it at? It's down here. To 3 or fewer adjacencies, if you need that. But again, this is formation layout dependent. Okay. So just know, she's not going to work in a formation layout that doesn't have this specific number of fewer adjacent slots for your and your DPS has to go there. Okay. Star Collector. Each time an enemy is defeated, there's a 1% chance it drops a star. So every time you kill 100 enemies, you might have gotten a star off them. It's a lot. Jang Sao collects these stars and increases the effect of the Mysterious Wanderer by 1% for each star collected over all adventures, stacking additively. There is a super high cap that probably not get to. It's not about trying to get there. They just threw a cap in just so that people don't go wild with this. I've gotten a little over 10,000. It's about an EO4 buff for me. I haven't really tried to farm them, but this is a permanently stacking ability. It just stacks additively, so there is a, there's diminishing returns. It kicks in. Stellar Nursery. Every 5 seconds, Jang Sao heals the 2 most damaged champions in the formation for a flat value. Okay, so this is a heal, and she will heal 2 champions, and they can be anywhere. They can be anywhere in the formation. Spec choices. Wisdom of the Ages or Speed of Shooting SARS. Wisdom of the Ages. Jang Sao increases the effect of the Mysterious Wanderer by 100% for each champion in the formation with a wisdom of 13 or higher. It does stack multiplicatively, so this number does matter. Speed of Shooting Stars. Jang Sao increases the effect of Mysterious Wanderer by 100% for each champion in the formation with a dex of 15 or higher, stacking multiplicatively. So really, it's what do you have? What is the higher number here? And then pick it. After you've built your whole formation. Okay, obviously I'm going to go Wisdom of the Ages, because that's the 5 versus the 3, and the values are the same. Values are the same. I don't think we sneak anything in. Oh, Ultimate, Starry Form. Let's talk about that real quick. Jang Sao transforms into her Starry Form for 15 seconds and fires shooting stars at her enemies, making them take 100% additional damage for the duration. Here's what it looks like. She looks real cool in this form, too. Come on. There we go. She just glows. She's got this glow going on. Look, there were stars on the field. She shot those out, and then you pick them up, and they count. All right. Because remember, she's all about picking up stars. All right. Second set of specialization choices. Moon Collector, Star Caller, or Night Runner. So, Moon Collector, in addition to collecting stars, Jang Sao collects moons. Each time an enemy is defeated, there's a 0.5% chance it drops a moon. So this is 1 in 200 chance. Jang Sao collects those moons for the purpose of Star Collector, and they count as 5 stars. So if you are just running a formation where you don't need any other bonuses from her, what you want is for her to build up as many stars as possible, you're running Moon Collector. You're running Moon Collector, okay? Star Caller, Jang Sao fires 3 more stars from her lantern when she uses her Starry Form Ultimate, because remember, you're picking those stars up, so that's also a way to collect more stars. And the Ultimate's damage debuff is multiplied by the number of stars fired stacking additively. This is a much more functional Ultimate, or a spec choice, because she's going to debuff enemies based off the Ultimate. Okay? Night Runner, Jang Sao increases the effect of Star Collector by a percentage equal to the number of stars she's collected on the current run. Obviously, we've only collected like 4 so far. This is the more generic, I just want to debuff them off the ultimate. We're going to do this. This is like if you're going to go real far in a run, you might get a good number if she gets some RNG and collects lots of stars. Maybe. Maybe not. Hard to say. This is one of those situations where the potions of specialization might be helpful, because you might run Moon Collector to start, and then at the end of your run, when you want to decide if you want to push further, you look at the number of stars she's collected in the run, pop a specialization thing. See, do I want to go this or do I want to go this? I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with this one. All right. Ale hydrate. Okay. Painter of Beauty. For every pigment assigned to the equipment on champions in the formation, the effect of the Mysterious Wanderer is increased by 10%, stacking multiplicatively. Pigments can be purchased in the Thayan Enclave shop and sometimes claimed as a season reward. So this is a very end-game ability. Straight up. Because pigments are slow to acquire in this game. Now you can have a pigment on every item, and it's different. There's 4 different pigments. It's DPS, support, tanking, and healing. I don't think we've seen the healing pigment yet, but you can have one on each item based off their roles. So she could have healing and support pigments, which means she could have a total of 12. 2 per item, 1 for each tag per item. But this is about everyone in the formation. So if you have and people have different role tags, so and then you've got to get them all. So this is a very deep end game ability. It is 10% stacking multiplicative. 10% is not a big multiplier. So don't, you're not missing a whole lot if you don't have it. But it is an extra bonus once you get in game and you do have everybody pigmented. And she doesn't even have a pigment. Who's got a pigment here? Wyll's got a pigment, right? Yeah. So pigments are noted, like this is the froggy pigment. That's the support one. There's a little frog icon on the left border and a green paint slash across it. And it adds on a buff, a support base buff. All right, itemization. We get Mysterious Wanderer, Star Collector, Stellar Nursery, Painter of Beauty, Wisdom of the Ages, or Speed of Shooting Stars, and Ultimate Attack Cooldown. So she is very well itemized. Nothing generic here. Very good itemization. Damage all champions buffs, Mysterious Wanderer, Star Collector, Stellar Nursery, Painter of Beauty, spec choices, Emerging Artist. This is increases damage of all champions by 40% for each pigment applied to Jang Sao herself. Stacking additively. This is a big deal. This is huge. This could be a huge boost once you get a multiple pigment, 2 pigments. Because remember, 40%, look, even 1 is better. Even 1 pigment on her makes it a better feat than this, right? But, you get 2 or more pigments and she's getting a much better, even stacking additively, it's a much better boost, right? Here's the one that's going to help you with more flexible formations, right? All right, that's Jang Sao. Next up is Shadowheart, God's favorite princess. Female half-elf cleric of Shar, lawful neutral healing support, member of the absolute adversaries. Her base attack is magical, based off that little magic missile icon. Sacred Flame. Shadowheart casts Sacred Flame on a random enemy, dealing 1 hit. Just 1 random hit. Twilight Trickery. This is her core buff. She increases the damage of champions within 2 slots of her by an amount. So there's your formation placement cue. Make sure she's within 2 slots of the DPS. Now that's going to change based off something else that happens. But starting off, that's how you're going to place her. Light in the Dark. Shadowheart heals champions in the 2 columns ahead of her for an amount every second, for a flat amount every second. So she wants to be, if you're trying to heal your tanks, she needs to be within 2 columns of her tank, of the tank line. Not right behind, she can be 2 columns back. But you can also just place her, again, this is all gonna change. This is all gonna change real soon, but know that this is the base functionality of Shadowheart. Ceramorphosis, Sarah returns. Again, per tadpole stack, she's buffing Twilight Trickery multiplicatively. So the damage boost, multiplicatively stacked, based off tadpole stacks. Invoke Duplicity. This is what changes her placement in the formation, potentially. Shadowheart creates an illusory duplicate of herself, which hides in the formation. I found her. See, it's right here. It's this kind of phased out duplicate. Okay. Hides in the formation and applies Twilight Trickery and Light in the Dark to champions relative to itself with half the normal range. So that just means it's going to heal the column in front, and it's going to buff adjacent champions, not within 2. So it's going to the the duplicate will buff adjacent champions and heal the column in front. This is kind of a great place to have it because it's going to heal our tank line as well as all other adjacent champions, but also buff or heal the tank line, but also buff all adjacent champions. And this was kind of making this Krux DPS, right? So that means I could put, ideally, if you want to heal more people, you throw her all the way in the back, and we're healing most of the party. I'm healing Lae'zel. Screw Lae'zel. No. But we're healing most of the party, right? Here, this could be another way to do it, but, healing fewer people, right? So once the duplicate gets placed, you then want to start potentially, there's some movement with the formation placement and stuff to maximize buffing as well as healing that can happen, okay? Spec choices, guidance, ignore it for now. It needs changed. I'm not even going to read it. It's non-functional. It's really non-functional at the moment. It just doesn't work. Sister of Darkness. If Shadowheart's illusory duplicate is placed in the same slot as she is, so if it goes to her, the effect of Twilight Trickery would be increased by 400%. So this is one of those, once you've built out your formation, if she has it, you go this. You would go with this. Find Yourself. The effects of Twilight Trickery and Light in the Dark from Shadowheart's illusory duplicate are increased by 100%. For each formation slot away from Shadowheart the duplicate is, following the shortest path, and it stacks multiplicatively. In this situation, that's the one we'd want. And we would want to put her back here. Because we're going to get 1, 2, 3 stacks. 3 multiplicative stacks for Find Yourself. Okay. Again, I'm not even going to read guidance because it doesn't function in the game currently. You only ever really get 1 stack of guidance currently. It's supposed to stack multiplicatively up to 5 times, and it can't really without playing this manual pop in, pop out thing. Don't even, just ignore it, unfortunately. So if it lands on her, Sister of Darkness, otherwise you want Find Yourself and you want to place her, stretch it out and place her away from the shadow. And the shadow then, because remember, this is the effects coming off the illusory duplicate get buffed. The shadow is then what you want. The duplicate is what you want buffing your primary DPS. And you want her as far away from them as possible. Okay. Okay. Now remember, again, this is going to be 1 buff from Twilight Trickery. This is kind of, if you can stretch in a different way and double apply, great, but it's really going to depend on the scenario and what you're trying to do. Because they do get tracked as coming, they believe they get tracked as coming from different sources. Hold on. This should be on Krux twice. Should say it from different sources. Let me double check. Twilight Trickery from Shadowheart, right? And Invoke Duplicity as the other one. So yeah, so this would double up the buff. Okay, this would give you a version here and a version here. So you effectively get it twice, because you'd get it once from Twilight Trickery, but then you get it from Invoke Duplicity. So you can double up. So it's better. I mean, you can do this. If you're trying to heal everybody, this is the placement. If you're trying to just double buff Krux, this is the placement. Going to depend on what's going on in the scenario. There are versions where I would rather have more heals on my party, like the whole party, than having more damage, because my damage is fine. So just keep that in mind. Are we done? Hold on. Nope, we're not. Invoke Duplicity, Find Yourself. Absolute Sanctuary is the ultimate. So we are done. Okay. Where are we at? It's right here. Shadowheart's Mysterious Relic strikes back enemies. So this is a screen-wide knockback and prevents all damage to your champions for a short while. So we don't know how long that is. But there's the knockback, screen-wide knockback, and then we're not taking damage for an indeterminate amount of time. There you go. Item-wise, damage all champions item. And then we get Twilight Trickery, Ceramorphosis, that's the big one. Light in the Dark, ultimate attack, ultimate cooldown. Oh, I've never over-leveled her. Hold on, folks. How silly of me. There we go. There's my 4 feats. Damage all champions, feats, Twilight Trickery, Ceramorphosis. Again, these are going to be the big ones in a full party. Light in the Dark. Here's more Twilight Trickery. Lots of Twilight Trickery and a big Ceramorphosis one. There is nowhere that this comes from. It's because this came right currently. It's because it came from the season. So if you didn't get it in the season, you can't get it for a while. Probably a few more months, and then it will show up as a 50,000 gem purchase. Okay. Finally, Wyll. Because where there's a will, there's a way. All right. Male human warlock, neutral good, pure support, member of the absolute adversaries, fires off with a magical and melee attack. So Blade and Blast will stab the closest foe, then cast Eldritch Blast on the lowest health enemy. So this can be 2 separate targets. Okay. Wyll is built entirely around folk hero, really, truly. Wyll increases the damage of all champions that belong to the most represented race, class, or affiliation in the formation by an amount. Now, the rest of this text is lying to us. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to tell you what is actually going on. If there's a tie, all tied groups gain the buff, and champions who are part of several groups can gain multiple stacks of the buff up to a max of 4 stacks. Stacking multiplicatively, buffs apply to the pre-stack value. The lie here is the part that says, if there is a tie, all tied groups gain the buff. That's a lie. As it stands, all groups gain the buff, and that has been stated by the devs as intended, so they need to change the text. So, what does this look like functionally? Right now, half-elf is the most represented race, fighter is the most represented class, and absolute adversaries is the most represented affiliation. All of these groups are going to get this buff. There is no tie here. But if we built out a formation where it ties, and our DPS is in all of the tied groups, you could get this to stack multiplicatively. And this is the value that multiplies. It's ridiculous. I heard that Sean and Mars yesterday messed around with it on screen and did redonkulous things with nerds. The champion nerds. And they call it a Willy Wonka formation. I just want to say, it is not... It took like over 10,000 average item levels on Wyll to make that happen. No. Just no. No. That's not a common... That's not a thing that people can actually... Most people are not ever going to get there, folks. Just understand that, please. Okay, but Folk Hero has the potential to be huge, but in a very specific scenario. So just know that there's the possibility for things to go real wild, but you have to build specifically for it, and you most likely need very solid itemization. I have very solid itemization here, 1001 on Ceramorphosis. That's going to build this a lot, because Ceramorphosis buffs Folk Hero and stacks multiplicatively. Okay? This is how you get ridiculous. This is how you get Willy Wonka type stuff. Heartless Contract. Fiends are Wyll's favored foes. So he is a favored foe champion. And just it's very straightforward. All champions deal of 5x damage against fiends. That's all it is. It doesn't change. Bravado. Each time an enemy or distraction is defeated. The distraction there is interesting. Wyll increases the effect of Folk Hero by 25%, stacking multiplicatively up to 10 times until the area changes. This is a way to build up damage while you're sitting on one level. Spec choices are unique. There is a unique spec choice in this, and it is pay to win. No, I can't believe I just said that. It is not. You're not competing against anyone. But if you have a lot of familiars, which only really comes from buying familiars, then you could have a super high boost here from Pact of the Chain, which increases the effect of Folk Hero by 10% for each familiar assigned to the party, and it stacks multiplicatively. It can be a big number. 30-something. I think around 30. Pact of the Blade increases the effect of Folk Hero by an amount on champions with a melee base attack. So if you have a melee base attack primary DPS, this is what you'd go with if you don't have a lot of familiars. Pact of the Tome increases the effect of Folk Hero by 25% for each champion in the formation with a magic base attack. So if this number is decent, and it's, you're gonna have to do some math, but I would I have a lot of familiars, so I just always go back to the chain. I don't have them out at the moment, but it just gets real big. Pact of the Chain is the best one if you have lots of familiars. That's everything. Let's talk about Mizora. Wyll's patron Mizora appears behind him for 15 seconds, increasing his attack rate and making him deal ultimate damage for the duration. Ultimate damage means Bud. When you hit this ultimate, Wyll becomes your secondary DPS. This is great for chewing through armored enemies. You want to save this for armored enemies. You can get 15 seconds of Wyll helping you destroy an armored enemy, and this is what it looks like. There's Mizora. And now Wyll's just going to attack faster for 15 seconds. Now we're down to 2.2. Yeah, it went real fast. Okay. Item-wise, damage all champions, Folk Hero, Ceramorphosis. Again, these are all great here. Bravado. He's got multiple multiplicatively stacking abilities here with item support. You get the spec. Again, this is also multiplicatively stacking. And ultimate cooldown. Wyll is just a little wild. If you can match up Folk Hero, he's super OP. We get damage all champions, we get Folk Hero, we get Ceramorphosis. Again, all of these are great. Bravado, the spec choices. He gets a strength feat. This qualifies him for Zerial. And then down here, he has some unique feats. The Heartless constructs get added to his favored foe list. The Soulless Undead get added to his favored foe list. So this is a way to give him favored foes. Again, it's a 5x multiplier against favored foes. And then Distracting Imps spawns imps distractions regardless of what area you're on, which means every area he can distract imps. And remember, this builds up one of his multiplicatively stacks if you're not killing things. So some really interesting out-of-the-box feats here, which I like. And then a Heartless contract feat. That's everybody, folks. It took me 90 minutes. I knew it. All right, so we do have some time for questions. Wow. I just talked for 90 minutes and we have 6 questions in the queue, folks. Please, question : in front of your questions or they don't get picked up by Gabe. Gabe's gonna assume that you were asking chat and not me. So question : with any questions. I'm going to be back in a moment. The song we're listening to in honor of Krux and Vin Ursa is Spelljammin'. It's the song for Spelljammer.
My naughty lord's taking flight. Them pirates got me in their sight. Oh no. All aboard for a trip to the stars. Sailing planner wins on a space card. Space Dragon's treasure's gonna be ours. Let's go. Your gift, merchant or gift, everyone is welcome on the skiff. Spelljammin', no planning. Spelljammin', on the ship we're hanging. So much bigger than your hometown. Don't look back as we look to ground. Keep an eye out for the space clowns, oh no. Watch out for hamsters, both giant and small. Gonna claim your ship as their own space ball. Better run gotta go. Viking hasn't seen or even space go. Everyone is welcome on this boat. Spell jamming, no planning. Spell jamming, on this ship we're hanging. Astral space is nowhere to get lost. Hauling cargo to cover our costs. If you wanna hear the call of a space whale, come join our crew. We're about to set sail. Spell jamming, no planning. Spell jamming, on this ship we're hanging. Spell jamming, prepare for ramming. Spell jamming, come feast or famine. Spell jamming.
Hey, and we're back. I'm going to answer the on-topic stuff first, but there aren't a lot of questions here. So we're going to get to just ask whatever you want to ask, folks. Niscus, is today's show a catch-up? I mean, sort of. I mean, we bundled. It's a bundle. It's a bundle. It's a twofer. It's a 2-for-1. Aretra Mustafi, what do you think about feats to add more tadpoles for absolute adversary champs themselves? So I'm not getting into spoilers, but I'm just going to say I don't think that would be very balanced for the game. I think adding tadpoles to other champions that aren't members of the absolute adversaries makes more sense to get your stacks up. But adding too many tadpoles will be problematic. I mean, the Wyll's already problematic, right? So yeah, I think it would just be, maybe a bit of a problem, but not my call. Vampire Lee, is Jang Sao dependent on available adjacency or active adjacency? In other words, does removing the person in the center slot make everyone applicable, as they now have 2 adjacencies? No, because it doesn't say anything about, so it's actual formation slot adjacencies, not whether there's a champion in there, because it doesn't say anything about slots with champions in them. It says in formation slots with 2 or fewer adjacent slots, not with 2 or fewer adjacent champions. So it doesn't matter whether you've got champions in them or not. It really is about the formation layout and not how you've built the formation. Is that it? That's it for on topic. Phoenixian Ultimatum, with Krux being the last Evergreen we've received, any insight on when we could expect the next Evergreen champion to come to the game? This year sometime. That'd be the best insight I could give. And I say that based off Evergreens are usually somewhere. Nowadays it feels like you receive them about halfway through a campaign. So Krux was right over here somewhere. Maybe he was here. He was here. Maybe. I don't remember. Yeah, he was right here. Animated GIF. You got to do Krux's speedrun first, and then you get to do animated GIF, and you unlock Krux. That was about halfway through the campaign. That seems to be what's going on. The Wild Blushi was about halfway through. Well, Xerophon was towards the end. Towards the end, at the very end, one in the middle and halfway through. So we're the last couple have trended towards about halfway through. So that means we need to get about halfway through Turn of Fortune's Wheel, and we've really only started. We've only just begun. Yeah. So, but I think some point this year we would probably see whatever Fortune's Wheel's Evergreen is going to be. Onthalon asking a question that I have no idea, but let's see. I don't even know if we can make happen. Would you please explain Penelope's visual stacking symbol? The red-green meters next to her when she's masked. So the problem here is I'm not sure if I can get her masked. I mean, we're going to try. We're going to try. I'm not sure if I've pushed far enough in an adventure to get her mask up. So, I should have saved this. Oh, well. Okay. So, Penelope has an adventure, and wow. See, this is what happens when I talk for 90 minutes straight. Has an ability called Chwinga Mask that whenever the formation is under attack, she dons her mask, and then there's buffs. There's a healing buff and a damage buff. But we have to be attacked, and no one's going to get close. No one's going to get close. But I'm guessing it has to do with these. So she's going to heal adjacent tank champs when the party's under attack. Adjacent tank, not just adjacent, it has to be tanks. Or she's going to increase the damage of all champions by 100% for each adjacent healing support or gold find champion. So you kind of have to base it off this. That should be what's going on. Yeah, that should be what's going on. The problem is it's very difficult for me to actually try to demonstrate that right now. On this adventure, I would need an area with ranged people plinking at Krux the moment they got on the screen, and that's not really where we are. Not really where we are. So I'm going to put everybody back in somehow. I'm just going to throw people back in. I don't care if they're appropriately placed overly much. All right, that's good. Okay. So yeah, I have a feeling it has something to do with that. You get that. You're just wondering what it all means. Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to that stuff. Straight up. I don't. Sometimes these visual indicators are just clutter that mean nothing to me when they come on the screen, and I wish they weren't there. And that's Penelope's is one of those. Penelope's a weird champion in that, I mean, she's great, but she fights against herself because she has these like knockbacks and slows and stuff that could keep enemies away from the party, but she wants the party to be under attack, and sometimes that doesn't work out very well, right? So it's just one of those things I've just never paid attention to because I don't know that it's really going to help you at all while you're playing. Which is odd, but yeah. D0, what Karlach item is best to make legendary? It doesn't matter. Legendary has nothing to do with the item itself. There aren't different legendary effects for different items. There are different legendary effects for different champions. So Karlach has 6 potential legendary effects. And you can, if you've got 6 items ready to go and that are epic, and you just want to put a legendary effect on her, it could go on any item because it doesn't really matter. So put it wherever you want. Onthalon back again. If you know, does a full dismantle refund up to 10,000 total item levels or 10,000 items per level? I've never done it. I've never had a champion that had. I don't know. I think it's 10,000 per item. Because the only time I've fully dismantled a champion that had thousands of item levels was Ashara, and that was only so I could get some free potions of polish. I'm pretty sure it's 10,000 per item level because I'm pretty sure I zeroed her out, and she had over because 10,000. If it was 10,000 total, if you had like 2,500 average item levels on the first 5 and a capped slot 6, that would max it out, and you'd still have 500 item levels left over. So it's got to be 10k per item. Now your slot 6 would never get 10k to be clear, unless it's Spurt or somebody who doesn't have ultimate cooldown reduction. Because ultimate cooldown reduction at worst is going to cap at like 501 or something. So yeah, it should be 10,000 per max per item. It's got to be the way it works. I've got people in chat are backing that up, so there you go. And Monto, is it worth it to try and farm extra event favor? It's favor, not rep. We got to use the right terms because they might add reputation somewhere. Or is it not that efficient? Same with time gates. So time gates, I'm going to say no. Pretty equivocally no for most players, especially if you're newer. Are there situations where you might want to farm time gate favor? Yes, but it's more of an in-game thing, not an early or even mid-game thing. Now events though. Yes, with qualifiers. Farming event favor is important, but with a qualifier. If you'll note, we're in an event right now. My event favor is E82 LDAS favor. I went pretty big. I went pretty big this time. I think I could get it higher, but I don't know that I care. I don't know that I care. There's a certain point where you have to decide, do you care about the extra or not? Here's how event favor gets converted. This is all scientific notation, so please use scientific notation for your numbers so this makes sense. Event favor gets converted at 10% per order of magnitude. That's E01. So I'm getting 10% per order of magnitude. I'm going to get 820% and some change based off the other numbers that don't make any sense, but and some change, right? The big part is 820%. Okay. If I could get EO3 more favor, is that worth me doing a deep push? For me, I don't think that's worth it. That's a long way to go to get just an extra EO3. That's a big time investment and effort investment for me to get another EO3 favor. So I probably don't care. Now, if I was at like E10 favor, an extra EO3 that's a significant boost. That's 30% more, right? I'm going to go for that. So the way you kind of have to look at it partly is a subjective experience of, is it worth your time to get it in terms of the amount of difference it's going to give you? Or also, how much are you earning when you do a deep run? When you just did your last deep push, how many orders of magnitude did it go up? If it went up like 5 orders of magnitude, it might be worth it for you to go. You might get another 3 or 4 if you're on the lower end of favor. It might be worth it. If it only went up EO1 or it didn't go up a total order of magnitude, it might be time to stop. It depends on what number you're at. Usually you want to hit at least EO8 to get all the variance green, and it's worth grinding to get to EO8 as a new player, just to make the variance easier and more guaranteed. E10 is even better. But beyond that, it's about how much you're earning when you're pushing. What's that time investment worth? Because if you're only getting an EO1 extra favor off of a deep push with all the time and the potions you put into that, not worth it. So to a certain degree, you have to really figure that out for yourself if it's worth pushing or not. And it's based off how much are you getting when you push. Yeah. It's never about what's your percentage increase over here. It's literally about a flat value based off what yours is, and knowing that, it's 10% per EO1 that you're getting. Hikuishi, how does Finn's patron oath skill work? What does it affect? I don't seem to notice a difference when she's in my formation or not. It specifically boosts your patron challenge progress. So it's for when you're doing these patron challenges. That's it. That ability exists to make it easier for you to get your patron chores done each week. So, for instance, oh no, did I do everything this week? Oh, the one time I do everything. All right. So let's say complete 1,000 areas in Mert variants or free plays. If I have her without her feet in my party that's doing Mert's patron challenge, and I'm working on other stuff, that means I only have to go 500 areas because she doubles it. Now, if I have her feed in, it quadruples it, and that means I'd only have to go 250 areas. So Finn basically makes it so that you spend less time working on these patron chores each week, and you get your currency. You get your, we call these, this is a weekly allowance. That's why we call it chores. You get your allowance faster because you get your chores done faster. It's Daddy Mert, Mommy Vajra, Uncle Strahd, and estranged Aunt Zariel. So yeah, Finn basically helps you get your chores done a little quicker each week and earn your allowance faster. Dice 42. Jang Sao counts followers or allies as well. Right? What? What are we talking about? I don't know what that is in reference to. It has nothing to do with Mysterious Wanderer. Again, this is about formation slots. And not about who's in them. It's literally, is there a slot there or not? So I'm not sure I get the full dice. I'm not sure I get the full context of that one. But it doesn't matter if anybody's in that slot or not. Pyropure, how or what is the point of chest? What do they do? Chests, well, hey, I've got a good example for you here, folks. I've got a bunch of chests right now. There's lots of different chests in the game. Most of them exist to give you gear for your champions. Or if you've already got gear, to give you duplicate versions of that gear, and duplicate versions of gear make the gear on that champion more powerful. So most of these are dropping gear. There's a couple here that don't drop gear. So here's an example. A supply chest is going to drop consumables. Here, I'll show you. So we get potions and we get contracts out of a supply chest. Okay. But out of one of these other chests, like this Shaka chest, this is going to drop gear cards for a Shaka. We got a couple of them. And consumables. A silver chest is going to drop a consumable, potential consumables, potential gear. There's always going to be one gear. There might be some consumables. And it's going to drop gold. And the Electrums are going to do the same thing. Drop the same kind of things as that you're going to see. But 5 of them. So gear, consumables, and gems, right? Bahamut chests don't drop anything that are worth it. You're super new, so that's not going to matter. But most of these chests, almost all of these chests, are dropping gear for the champions that they're referencing. So anytime that you get chests, basically you want to open them. Unlike me, there's reasons I'm not opening those, and it's end-game stuff. It's not. It doesn't matter. When you're new, you get chests, you open them. And even the gems that you're getting, that you're earning, I've got some of them. Oh, God, I need to do some gem farming. You spend them on primarily chests. Chests and familiars, but chests primarily because you need that gear. Gear is power, so chests are power, basically, in progress. Dizior, I has this wrong. What Karlach item should I make? Should I guild? So shiny or golden? It's different. Legendary is a completely different thing. So Karlach is a tank. So one of the targets that I always recommend for people, if you have extra gilding, is to target the health item, because tanks need to live. They need to live. If your tank can't stay alive, that's a problem. So gild, if they've got a health item that's boosting their health, gilding it is a big deal. And because her Ceramorphosis stacks boost her health share, this is, this is kind of a doubly good place to gild. Outside that, she doesn't have the same. I mean, she gets multiplicatively stacking stuff. But I don't believe any of them are pre-stack multipliers. Let me just review real quick. Rage is nice, but I don't think it pre-stacks. Yeah, none of these are pre-stack multipliers. Except for Ceramorphosis. And then again, that one's doing health. So she's not as OP as the other champions. She's amazing. Look at this number, E16 boost. But you got to put work into her. But everything else should be post-stack multipliers. So really the kind of the big primary target on Karlach is her health, just so that she's super survivable. Looking Rider, have you added the community names to your patron guide yet? Not yet. I'm making a Patrons 101 guide, folks. It's going to take a little while. It's a lot. But it should be out soon-ish. Soon, TM. There will be a reference to the community names. We got a couple of questions here. We're going to stop. So these are the last questions because we're out of time. Masatu, is there a way to increase the font size? Not really. If you make your resolution super high, then the font's just... Yeah, you have to lower your resolution. The font size you see on screen here is because I run this game at a low resolution. Where am I at? Here we go. 1600 by 900, and then I zoom, and then I do the 100% or 25% zoom, just so I can see it. I run off little I want a window that I can see and then read. But yeah, there isn't a way to do that. They don't have a set. It all scales based on the resolution size, and you can't just change the font because it would break all the boxes, the text boxes. They've talked about this before. LKK254 with the last question. I'm a very new player. Welcome to the game. Why is Shaka's Celestial Puzzle not listed in incoming effects for my champions? Am I doing something wrong, or is that how it works? Shaka in general is a bit of a mystery to me. Celestial Puzzle, if I recollect off the top of my head, I'm going to go double check, is an all champs damage boost. Yes. Shaka increases the damage of all champions by an amount. Whenever it says increases the damage of all champions by an amount, but doesn't have a qualifier like all champions in front of him or all champions adjacent, whenever it's just all champions, it doesn't show as incoming because everyone gets it. We've asked them to add references that's for generic buffs to everybody like that. They haven't done it yet. At some point they might. It's rumors are it may be happening, but that's just rumors. So whenever it's something completely generic like that, it's not going to show up as incoming. It only shows up as incoming if it's like positional. If it's buffs damage of champions adjacent, and then you know it's there. Because otherwise, if it says this, everybody's getting it. Everybody's getting it. That's going to be it for today. Right as Cafenia showed up, we're out of here, folks. Let's go. Sorry, Cafenia. But hey, if you like hanging out with me, I will be back over on my channel in about an hour. I stream over at Twitch TV/Gaarawarr, spelled like it sounds, or you can click my name in chat and go over and toss me a follow. Mondays and Wednesdays I stream Idle Champions, and I make my guides live. I'm the guide guy from Reddit, folks, if you didn't figure that out yet. Over 160 guides for the game over there, targeted primarily at new players. But, you know, sometimes there's stuff mid-game and late-game players can learn from them as well. But on the other days, I play other games. I play a variety of different games. Right now, we're playing through Disco Elysium. So it's the Adventures of Johnny Thundercop, aka Hobo Cop. Come over and hang out in about an hour while we play through. It's kind of a dark game, but man, it's a little too real at times. But it's a mystery game, and I like it. So we're having fun. So that'll be about an hour ish. I do that on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So I stream 5 days a week over on my channel. There will be no more streams on this channel until Tuesday. They'll be back on Tuesday. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, everybody. The song we're going out on is For Certainty's Dad, because we don't have one for anybody else in this formation. From the Desk of Omen Drawn, #ad. Bye all.
Started out with a simple tune, friendly and saccharine like a cartoon. Let the listener have no doubt. They need to feel the fear of missing out. We'll inspire them with epic riffs and emotional music gift. Rouse your feelings toward our cause and our ad with arousing applause. And then the hook should be big and strong and catchy to distract them from noticing we're sketchy. Do a chord shift on the chorus to make the room turn for us. There's more for us when we swindle their trust. On a customer recruitment run, 'cause our old clients are all out of funds. Avoid talking about any deals. We just want to give them the feels. And then the hook should be big and strong and catchy. Distract them from noticing we're sketchy. Do a chord shift on the chorus to make the room turn for us. There's more for us when we swindle their trust. Take it down to a minor scale. Demonstrate the ways our rivals fail. This song is a testament to our return on investment. And then the finale is soft and calm and nurturing, so they won't realize just how much they're purchasing. Try to keep it soft and sweet and gentle. Coerce these fools with something sentimental. Appeal to their greed, make them think it's our sweet need. Then we'll get tamer for the final disclaimer. There's more for us when we swindle their trust.
Yeah, okay, well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.